We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. Hey, this could be the GameStop market update. Now, let's talk about GameStop. A lot of people are like, well, GameStop's going to buy Bitcoin, therefore Bitcoin should go up. They really only have $3 billion. Okay. Global Bitcoin volume is like 30 billion a day. So, it's not like GameStop's going to move the market. But we may start finding out if the GameStop short sellers from 2021, that Roaring Kitty and all these guys are after, really have ever covered those positions. In other words, there are a lot of guys out there that think that GameStop has like an artificially large short position, meaning some Wall Street player is short more shares than actually exist, which of course is not legal or moral or, in other words, somebody went out there and made some kind of gigantic bet that was illegal, which is why they're afraid, that's why Roaring Kitty came along, which is why they have this whole thing where everybody gangs up on these short sellers trying to create life-changing money because, frankly, you can't get a price high enough to cover the shorts, which is also why every time the stock goes up, GameStop issues more stock, increases the supply of stock, and now is sitting on like $3 billion, and that's where the money comes from to buy Bitcoin. Now, what does this have to do with crypto? Well, I think if you can get a little anarchy going, because that's what people want, right? If you get meme stocks going, because that's what GameStop is, you can get meme coins going, maybe. Long term, some guy was in the chat talking about, I used to buy games at GameStop and get GameStop gift certificates. So did I. I bought Call of Duty from my Wii, Nintendo Wii and stuff at GameStop. If GameStop turns itself into somehow a brick and mortar Bitcoin business, like Charles Schwab branches for Bitcoin, that increases adoption but doesn't move price today. So all the talk will be about GameStop, and I think the talk should be not about how it moves Bitcoin, but how it could move memes, right? So we'll talk about that. I got a lot of stuff. I got stuff about AI, robotics. People are short stocks. I mean, the people who are short stocks are going to get killed. And this could actually wind up helping crypto because the destruction that you have in stocks is going to get unwound. We know the destruction in crypto is going to get unwound, although everybody seems to know that except your average crypto bro. It's going to get unwound, right? We're hysterical over tariffs. We were hysterical over tariffs in 2017. And when it was all said and done, the Fed put money in the system and no one cared. And crypto just indiscriminately mooned. And it could actually be time for altcoins because like I was looking at AI coins yesterday, picked a few of them, and they're actually doing quite well today. So let's welcome who's here, and then we'll get into that. Okay, so Taz Pinball is here, a GameStop shopper. Yav in the house. Thomas, Miguel, Jacob, what's up? Zepedas, eCrypt, Metal Synthetic, SGSG, the original. Vanessa, can't stop the Cap TV. Looking forward to the content. Okay. Yes, I do. Malik, Calvin, Javier is here. Crypto Scam. Roby, what's up? Is a breakout coming? Dude, I think it's a stealth breakout right now. Really. I mean, trend lines are getting broken through sideways movement. They're doing it as we speak, just quiet. And no one believes it, that too. Okay. Let's get into what news there is. I think news is a quality thing, not a quantity thing. All right. So the political opposition in the United States just continues to embarrass itself. right? They're hiring people to show up at rallies, literally. They're outside the Tesla dealerships in Austin. And to be honest with you, they've created a distraction in Tesla away from the fact that Tesla could wind up being a robotics company worth 10 trillion. So if that's where the world is going, stocks are too cheap, crypto's too cheap, and these people who created all this fear are just wrong. They're just reacting to what the orange man wants, the orange man gets, period. So our friends in Legacy are lining their pockets with money from last year's stock market rally. Good luck with that. I mean, they're going to get paid because broker dealers made, uber amounts of money as stocks went up only. Good for them, right? Crypto bros really didn't make unless you were like in the professional meme trenches, unless you were like a full-time meme coin trader. Crypto bros only made money at the end of the year. And then that's if they sold it and didn't wind up giving it back, which frankly, because people wanted to hodl, understandably, a lot of people got wrecked. So this is a nice way of saying, I think our day is coming, right? They had their up only moment. We're going to have our up only steady trend moment. Now, this is very interesting. Like every day we have kind of like an investment BlackRock headline that, frankly, I go over it, but I think the market has just become, the market doesn't care, right? Because the market wanted the government to move their bags. The government didn't move their bags, and we went into like altcoin winter, and then that was it. People were just like not interested. But $1 trillion asset manager T. Rowe Price says 80K is a good price to buy because basically Bitcoin has reached the cost of production. So I remember the cost of production in 2019 in Bitcoin. I think it was like 6K, right? And then Bitcoin crashed to 3K because the big Bitcoin miners were able to afford new hardware. The small Bitcoin miners weren't. So when Bitcoin falls below the cost of production, you can have a crash because, miners basically go out of business. Now, that said, that cost of production number is a huge support point because miners will come in with their own money and support it, right? Because falling below the cost of production is a disaster. And normally it doesn't do that. Why would it do that? There's people on this stream at 65, 74. Why? Right? Why? I mean, Bitcoin is a part of like an AI-based prosperity trade. Ironically, some of my work shows it's not the most important thing, but why would Bitcoin go below the cost of production? CoinDesk on the strategic asset reserve with Michael Saylor. Okay. Talking about his background and upbringing. I'm really interested to see this. Everybody in Legacy thinks this guy is some kind of lunatic. Seriously. I mean, it is everywhere. Like there was like a LinkedIn post. Here it is. Okay. So here's the Legacy view of Michael Saylor, just so you know. Like this is how bearish people are out there on him. Michael Saylor owns 500,000 Bitcoin, the biggest risk for the crypto industry. So in other words, he's saying if Michael Saylor blows up, the whole industry vaporizes. That could be true. No one wants to say it out loud, but Saylor is building a Bitcoin empire with money he doesn't have. Strategy itself doesn't generate cash, it burns it. The consulting business is dead, revenue irrelevant, and cash flow is negative. So the software part of strategy doesn't do anything. Now, what they should be doing is developing on Bitcoin, like, DeFi, NFTs, payment systems, but they don't. And I don't understand why. Probably because all the resources go to buy Bitcoin. So Saylor is raising billions from investors to pay the old investors. This isn't a flywheel. It's an infinite money glitch. It's a yield trap. So 580 million spent on Bitcoin last week. This STRF and STRK instruments that he just keeps issuing to any sort of person who will buy it. They have a 10% dividend and an 8% dividend. And this guy is wondering, meaning he has to pay interest on these things, on that money he borrows. Where's he getting the money from? Okay. And he's still targeting a raise of 42 billion, but Bitcoin doesn't pay yield, which is why they're eventually going to have to get in DeFi. All of them are. So where does the dividend come from? Well, if you don't know where the yield comes from, you are the yield. And he just brings in new people. So what happens if Bitcoin drops? Well, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So that's what Legacy thinks of Michael Saylor, because frankly, this is simple. Michael Saylor can't possibly be right because he's defying all finance mathematics, which is what Bitcoin was supposed to do to begin with. So yeah, it's not going to work, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Then what happens if it does and all the people who believe this get blown out? Now, here is crypto Twitter weighing in on MicroStrategy and GameStop. MicroStrategy is strategic. GameStop is nasty. Nasty in a good way. Their motivation isn't bringing perfect money to the masses. This roaring kitty anarchy crowd that wanted to squeeze GameStop and blow up whatever hedge funds and connected banks. Remember, there's the hedge fund that got the fancy derivatives position. And then there's the bank that does business with them, and everything could just, now GameStop maybe issued enough stock. We don't know. But if GameStop is up 100%, you could have theoretically a financial threat to stability and legacy, theoretically, which I think at the end of the day is good for crypto. But there's no question about it. GameStop cannot figure out what to do with all this money that they got from issuing all the stock that, frankly, someone made them issue. And now they're just going to buy Bitcoin and park the money. And then if they make money, they're going to turn GameStop into little Bitcoin headquarters. Okay. So here's the GameStop announce it. I didn't know they were in Texas. That's funny, right? So guess who was in on the decision? Right. He's just like, and I don't blame Saylor for going around and talking to these people, because with Bitcoin, it's just a race to get whatever supply you can get. Because I don't think there's enough supply. I think there's a lot of trading. I think the Bitcoin ETF is out there. There isn't going to be enough when everybody goes after this at the corporate and government level. Now, of course, this is bearish for everything, right? So Kramer says, GameStop's move makes sense. Cringe. Now, he does all these things on purpose. Like, there's undoubtedly a PR agency that goes, well, what would make sense, right? And then, everyone's like, no. So, Kramer can jinx things. Social media mentions on Deepin coins are looking green across the board, and AI is up this morning. Okay. Some of these things I like. Some of them are like, meh, right? Tau and Grass, we mentioned 2 days ago. This AI trade may not be complicated because there's not a lot of AI trades out there, right? Like, again, it started with Farcoin, and no one wants to talk about this. But when you see the Tesla chart, this whole thing is reversing, and it could be about AI and robotics. Okay, so again, BitBoy's brilliance at getting attention. So the book comes out. The book hit Amazon yesterday. He got his copy, and then I don't know if he turned himself in or the cops just got him. But He's a fugitive from justice. He's looking at 3 years in jail for like writing not so nice emails to the judge from his other case, the case against Hit Network. I mean, who sends email to a judge scaring the judge in the state of Georgia? For anybody outside the United States who doesn't know, there are certain states in the U.S. where you can basically be a lawless lunatic if you wanted to. But there are other states like Texas, Georgia, in the southern part of the United States. You play around with the law and the cops, it's going to turn out bad for you. Austin is actually split down the middle. Austin proper is one of these things where, you know, I don't want to say the cops don't care, but, you know, the policing situation in Austin. But if you go to like the outlying suburbs where they're like super conservative, forget about it. Step out of line and it's just absolutely, you are going to meet the law to the point where it's frightening. Like don't even jaywalk. BitBoy is meeting the police in Florida here. Stay clean. $6 trillion asset manager Fidelity to launch crypto stablecoin. Again, the administration wants stablecoins. Stablecoins buy treasuries. Stablecoins chase the market. So if Fidelity is uber long crypto, which they have been, they have people inside their ETF. They're just going to want to do everything they can to get their bag moving. Okay. One man's crypto windfall funding a $1 billion space station. Okay. So what does this have to do with anything? You know, there's going to be like two kinds of people in the world, right? Guys going out of space, guys doing AI, big companies doing all this. And I just want to raise one simple question. How do you get in on the AI robot space trade? I would suggest starting to figure that out. And there's stuff in crypto that you can trade, that you can trade, like in the decentralized world. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so what the orange man gets, the orange man wants. What the orange man wants, the orange man gets. So apparently people were like looking in on him when he was president. You know, there was a huge hoax that he was an agent of a foreign country. Guess what? He just signed something and all that information is coming out. Cross this guy, turns out bad for you. And again, I keep asking, what is going to happen at Bitcoin Vegas? Okay. Which somewhere I have an affiliate link for. It's just me, right? What is going to happen at Bitcoin Vegas if the government goes to that conference with some real stuff like the Sovereign Wealth Fund? That is not being traded right now. Nothing is being traded right now. Nothing. People are just assuming that, you know, oh yeah, it'll work out okay. It'll work out okay. All right, let's go to TA, because you know we're living in a content desert, really, except for charts, right? So we talked about this yesterday. SUI all the way up, 9 top, all the way back down, 9 bottom, and now this is quietly, I don't want to say up only, but it's just moving, and no one's paying attention. Seriously, I don't think anyone in crypto believes any part of what's happening right now. They're just too scared to touch it. Here's Tesla, right? So the whole market, all risk assets followed this down. Really. NASDAQ, all of it, all the way up, all the way down. Right to support, gapping the other way. ETH, which there is a bullish case for, because if L2s have to pay their fair share at some point, ETH at 2,000 is basically reflects everything negative that's ever been said or done about ETH. Seriously. You know, ETH at 1,800 reflects the bear case. So with the bear case fully priced in, What happens if people switch to the bull case? And frankly, I know this is going to sound ridiculous and no one wants to hear it, but what happens if altcoins in various sectors start popping off? AI coins that I like, they're up like, they're up like 7, 6, 7, 8% today. But the market goes up slowly. All right. As long as the market doesn't go down, the worse it trades, the more likely it is that it's a bottom. Again, you have Bitcoin trading at the cost of production. How is this market going to go down from here? It's not going up, but it's not going down either. Solana with this like grinding bid, right? So here's the 13 bottom. Here's the confirmation, and we start grinding higher, right? Squeezing out those shorts. Solana gets above. Solana gets above 152. All you got is a whole air pocket created by this Orange Man Truth Social post, which was, again, I don't know. This, as the failed rally, kind of wrecked all of crypto. But the thing is, if you start getting into this area, there's no resistance. Avalanche has been going up for 3 weeks. This is a weekly chart. It's been going up for 3 weeks, and no one is interested. Grass, which is AI for normies, is also going up. Not today, but it's been going up for 4 days. No one's paying attention, right? If you just look at Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is not backing off from this 89K level. And even if Bitcoin gets dropped again, like let's just look at the worst case scenario, right? Let's just say something bad happens, resistance is resistance, and then they drop it back down again. Do you really think that they can take it below the cost of production for longer than 5 minutes? Couldn't stay below the cost of production here. Why would it stay below the cost of production? In whose interest is that in? Nobody's, which is why the mining stocks have probably gotten wrecked. This makes sense to me now. But again, if it's trading at the cost of production, what happens if in May it's trading at twice the cost of production? And again, people's bullish imagination is gone. Okay, yeah, it's at resistance. It might pull back. Then again, it might just sit here. People don't want to pay higher prices, and people are just so bored and so depressed, frankly. Now, I'm seeing all kinds of statistics floating around legacy. And the way I would explain this is that at the end of every quarter, right? This is NASDAQ futures. So this is like the Magnificent Seven and friends. So at the end of every quarter, huge funds do what's called a rebalance. So they buy what's down and they sell what's up. That's kind of what they do. Well, guess what? They marked stocks down so fast, all these models are going to allocate money over to stocks. They're going, oh, look, it went straight down. So now, supposedly, there's like $100 and something billion worth of stock that has to be bought in the next 4 days. Now, of course, when that's over, you have to ask yourself what happens. But again, it's a range. And I keep saying this. This is a range, right? It's like, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down, all the way up. And then they figure out what they want to do from there. And now, even if that's wrong, can you imagine what happens? Just saying. Can you imagine what happens if the stupid thing makes a new high? If the stupid thing actually makes a new high, forget about it. So these meatballs are going to unwind their trade, and crypto isn't? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Right? Like silver, gold, copper has been up only. We don't even need to go over that, I don't think. Right now, crypto doesn't have a bid one way or the other, although frankly, this Cardano bid is kind of funny, right? I mean, I don't want to say Cardano is trash, right? I don't want to be a jerk, but of all the layer ones out there, I'm not sure Cardano is the one that I'd be like, oh yeah, let's get some Cardano. But again, it's a hated rally, and Cardano is just now moving above its 200-day moving average, and it's got a huge amount of distance between 75 and equilibrium at 90. Again, many of these cryptos got close to their discount zone on the way down, right? Arrow has been bid, but of course, Arrow is just, I don't know, man. Arrow is still hasn't moved out of here. You have to ask yourself what's going on here. And I'm almost to the point where every day that it doesn't go down is a day closer to a spike higher. And crypto may just sit for the rest of the month while we wait to see what equities do. But I mean, I know this is like very brief. This is like the shortest market update ever. Why would Bitcoin go below the cost of production? Why would that happen? Like, who's going to sell it to the point where it craters? Well, hedge funds that hate MicroStrategy might try to do it, right? But also, crypto Twitter, like, I look at a post about Bitcoin, and the next 5 responses, well, Bitcoin should go down to 82 to 84 because, well, my chart says Bitcoin should hold at 86. I mean, there are a lot of people who are focused on tariffs on April 2nd, who are focused on like the micro range in Bitcoin. And I just continue to believe that people are focused on all the wrong stuff, right? And Michael Saylor, countering whatever's going on LinkedIn, says you can get a 10% return on my stuff on these things that I issue. And meanwhile, Bitcoin rallies, and that helps MicroStrategy, right? What's the minimum amount of BTC GME needs to buy to be respected by investors? I picked 1 billion. That's the Tesla tier. 3 billion, the king move. Whoops, share screen. Yeah. What's the minimum amount GME needs to buy? 3 billion. That's what most people think, right? To be respected by Bitcoiners. I think what people should really be focused on is that GME, Michael Saylor went to see GME, and GameStop is like, why would I not buy this at the cost of production? Like, we couldn't produce it at 80. We don't have to take over a miner at 80. We can just buy it in the open market, and we just get 3 billion. And then we just sit there on this floor. And if GameStop actually starts going up, that could get memes going. And if not, it could get other corporations going. So what is out there to say in crypto? Not much. How's the crypto price action? Basically encouraging everyone to give up. Meanwhile, rallies are perking. Green shoots are growing out of the ash, and people are not paying attention. And then what happens when people do pay attention? You have this gradually and then suddenly thing where, dare I say it, certain altcoin sectors, again, this AI trade, no one's touched it. No one touched it. Like Fartcoin started moving. That told you the AI sector was going to wake up. The Kaizen guys were into AI and DeFi at one point. Who's talking about that? Nobody, which is why you should be looking at it, right? In other words, everyone's wounded, everyone's wrecked, right? You got to get you got to clean out your head. I mean, that's the most important thing. I mean, if I'm going to like monologue or fireside chat this thing, I mean, people listen to the show, right? And they think that I don't know what they think, right? I don't know what they think. They think, that I'm Mr. Positive all the time. Not true. Not true. I looked at this thing last night, stole at 88 off the GameStop news. And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Got to be kidding me. But the whole framework of this market is wrong. Like, what's everyone talking about? Recession, tariffs, all this stuff. It's all bunk. Look at this. Eagle King with breaking news right now. Again, fireside chat style today. Recession canceled. Durable goods up, expected down. Durable goods outside of transportation, way up, expected up small. Probably because this, AI-based data center thing is going to be off the charts. Off the charts. Not to mention the orange man wants everything built in America. And I don't understand why no one understands that. And that eventually translates over into the Bitcoin strategic reserve because guess what? The communists are after it, right? The Russians and the Chinese are buying it. They're also launching a gold-backed stablecoin, right? I know we covered this partly yesterday, but there is nation-state FOMO. Like people are like, how can we get this? Where? At the cost of production. So it's not easy to stay positive. Like I got to talk every day. I got to talk 2 or 3 times a day, plus, one other group where it's like a 6-minute podcast. What am I talking about these days? Well, I'm talking about the fact that everyone hates it and I have to keep other people from getting depressed because I have to keep myself from getting depressed. But there's nothing to be depressed about because 6 months, a year, and 2 years from now, like by February of 2026, 12 months from now, you're going to look back and go, oh my God, remember tariffs, geopolitical stuff, recession. Remember all this, crap? And I didn't buy or I didn't reorganize my portfolio or I just sold it and left. Now, obviously, if you're listening to the show, you probably haven't sold it and left. And of course, I appreciate your viewership. But what the hell are we doing? Like sovereigns are bullish and we are bearish. GameStop is buying it and we are selling it. Normies, again, all the data shows, Crypto Quant had it, all the normies that bought Bitcoin at the top off the orange man euphoria turned around and puked it all out, down 20%, which is laughable because anybody who trades altcoins know that we can, altcoins can move 20% before lunch. Communists buying it, capitalists selling it. That unwinds itself at some point. Okay. That's the market update for today. We'll see you tomorrow.